Hello, and thank you for joining us. The man accused of killing UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson earlier this month has been indicted in New York. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg announced the new charges against Luigi Mangione at a news conference Tuesday.
The defendant is charged with 1 count of murder in the first degree and 2 counts of murder in the second degree, including 1 count of murder in the second degree as an act of terrorism.
The 26-year-old suspect is expected to appear in a Pennsylvania court for a hearing Thursday on the weapons and forgery charges he faces in that state. The judge will also take up the issue of Mangione's extradition to New York, which he has been fighting. CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano has more.
We are learning today that this case got way more serious for Luigi Mangione. Before this morning, before this indictment was handed down, we believed that he was going to be charged with second-degree murder. In any other state or in many other states, first-degree murder is a charge where the prosecutors can prove that there was premeditation. In New York, first-degree murder is saved for very specific cases, which include people who kill police officers, serial killers, and in this case, in what some legal experts are calling a very creative way of going about this case, Luigi Mangione is basically being accused of terrorism, and that's how they arrive at that first-degree murder charge in this indictment, where there's a maximum of life without a possibility of parole. Second-degree murder, he could get life in prison, but not necessarily without the possibility of parole, so that's what's different here. On the other hand, we also learned today that from DA Bragg that the mother of Luigi Mangione, who had filed a missing persons report in San Francisco, as we reported last week, told police officers from the NYPD or detectives who reached out to check on that tip that not that she believed it was her son in the images, but that this is something that she may see her son having done. I'm paraphrasing, but something along those lines. This case has gotten very serious for the defendant, who could still waive his extradition. His next time in court is next Thursday at 8:30 in the morning, where the hearing is about the extradition.
Thank you, Lilia. Anna Schecter joins us now. She's the senior coordinating producer for our CBS News Crime and Public Safety Unit. Can you break down the charges in the indictment? Because Lilia mentioned the significance of this, but what do prosecutors have to prove, in particular for that terrorism aspect?
Well, they need to prove that he intended to create terror and to terrorize the citizens of New York. So it wasn't just targeting Brian Thompson, but with that act, creating fear and chaos. And Rebecca Weiner, who is the NYPD's czar on counterterrorism, she explained that today. She went up to the podium. She was clearly involved in this. And that was actually surprising to me to see that play out today. So the first-degree murder charge is one of 11 charges. That, as Lilia described, is extremely serious. And there's a second-degree murder charge as a crime of terrorism. That kind of ups the ante and sort of paved the way for Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan District Attorney, to convince a grand jury in New York that he had the evidence to prove this case. So this indictment is brought down after a grand jury has agreed, yes, the prosecutor has the evidence. This is a very important step in the legal process. So it's not just Alvin Bragg saying this and his team working with the NYPD, but a grand jury has agreed that he can bring these charges.
And so what else do we learn about the evidence that prosecutors are amassing? We heard that point from Lilia about a conversation that someone from the NYPD had with Mangione's mother.
And in that conversation, Mangione's mother said that she acknowledged that she could see him having done something like this, was the quote that Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenney of the NYPD revealed today. So that is new. And she said this the night before, ironically, someone spotted him in a McDonald's, reported him to the Altoona, Pennsylvania police, and he was apprehended. They also discussed at the presser today the ghost gun that he had. They listed out the gun, the ammunition, the gun that was on him matched the gun at the scene of the crime.
The fact that he was across the street waiting for Thompson.
Exactly. I think that's a very key point. The fact that he was lying in wait, had planned this out in his writings, and watched Thompson leave his own hotel at the Marriott and walk down the street to the Hilton, and only then come out and shoot him in the back. They noted that Mangione shot Thompson twice in the back and in the leg, and then fled. They also sort of gave a little update on the timeline. So they themselves are creating this timeline that they can present at a trial. And hopefully what District Attorney Bragg wants to do is get a jury to convict him on all 11 counts.
What's the latest on extradition?
Well, we find out Thursday morning if he waives extradition, they could just cancel that hearing, which will probably happen around 9:30 or 10 a.m. in Pennsylvania after the preliminary hearing on the Pennsylvania charges. If he fights it, they'll have a hearing. It doesn't mean he's not coming to New York. It'll just delay things a little bit. District Attorney Bragg said today he'd already prepared the paperwork for Governor Hochul, what she needs to go to Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania to facilitate this extradition. But Bragg indicated on Friday that he was expecting him to waive extradition. So we might see him Thursday night in New York.
Anna Schecter, thank you.